Hello, this is Topple the Nun here, and I'm going to be showing you today how to create a very simple Bukkit plugin from beginning to end. So I'm going to walk you through the steps, including installing the JDK to downloading Bukkit to downloading and installing your IDE of choice, um, and then creating the actual Bukkit plugin. So first off, you're going to want to go to whatever browser you use. Go to Google or DuckDuckGo or Yahoo or wherever, I don't really care, and you want to Google JDK7. It's the best thing you want to use because more servers run Java 7 than any other JRE. So you want to accept the license agreement for Java SE Development Kit 7U55. That's the most recent Java 7. It's likely to be the last. So you want to download whichever package works best for your system. For mine it was this one. So you go ahead and download that and then you run it. And after you've run that, you can check and see if it's done entirely by opening up your CMD, which is your command prompt, typing java c-version. If that returns something like what I just had with javac 1.7.0 underscore 55, you've done it right. If you also you can check if your Java version is correct by doing java-version, and if it returns the same kind of thing but Java version 1.7.0 underscore 55, again you've done something right. Cool. So I know a lot of people swear by Eclipse for their IDE. So you can just go to eclipse.org and download Eclipse there. Eclipse, I've used it extensively. It's a pretty good IDE. It works fine. It's just not my cup of tea. So what I use is this thing called IntelliJ. If you go to jetbrains.com/idea and download IntelliJ IDEA 13.1, you'll see that they have an Ultimate Edition and a Community Edition. Feel free to buy the Ultimate Edition to support JetBrains. They're an awesome company. It's a great IDE. But the Community Edition is free and it does exactly what we need. So you can just go ahead and download that and use that. It's not a big problem whatsoever. So once you've downloaded and installed that, you can just go ahead and open up IntelliJ. There are a couple of different configuration things that you probably want to do before you start developing. So from this opening menu here, you should go to, under Quick Start, go to Configure, Settings, and then this nice window will pop up. And you should, and unless you like the really bright looking disgustingness that is the Windows theme or whatever theme you're using normally, I'd say change it to Darkula. Yeah, so Darkula changes the skin to be a lot darker, and it just generally looks nicer. I like it a lot more. There's nothing else you really need to worry about in appearance, but if you go down to Editor, nothing there again. If you go to General, you should probably change it so that it saves automatically for you. That's just a really useful thing that it can do. Yeah, if you hit the down arrow next to Editor and go down to Appearance, clicking Show Line Numbers is really useful. And then if you go down to Code Completion, you can see all of these different options for automatically code completing for you. Auto import is really useful. You probably want all three of these checked. It helps a lot with keeping track of things for you. It's just really nice. There's really not many other things that you need to configure. I'd recommend going through and messing around with these other options when you get the time. Um, other than that, you're golden. Um, to create your first project, you just click create new project, and it'll come up with this new project window. Mine's automatically set to Maven, but you should go to Java. Use library, no library selected, that's fine. Next, just straight next through this. Give your project a name. Mine's going to be Bukkit tutorial, and then project SDK. Um, if your project location doesn't exist yet, you want to create the idea projects folder somewhere, or you want to put your projects in some place that already exists, so you can choose to put it on your desktop, for instance. So desktop / Bukkit tutorial, and that'll work just fine. Project SDK, if you don't have one of these already defined, you want to go to New, set up Project SDK JDK, and then you're going to want to navigate through here and find where you installed the JDK 7 from earlier. It'll probably be under Program Files times 86. Look for Java. Wrong one. It'll probably be under Program Files, Java. I'm not sure where mine is. That's a problem. Anyway, I'll find it later. It's not a huge deal. But just navigate to where you installed it earlier and set it up. So I've got Project SDK 1.7. And you hit Finish, and it'll create the project file directory. So you've got this nice work table here that you can use. So you're probably going to be wondering, alright, so now I've got this cool work table to work with. Where do I start with doing my plugin coding? The simplest way to do it is to actually start by right-clicking on the project right here, Bukkit tutorial, and clicking New, and then going to Directory, creating a new directory and calling it library, something similar like that, and then going to dl.bukkit.org. Once you've gotten to dl.bukkit.org, you'll see this nice, wonderful page that Bukkit has set up. You want to go to alternate versions, and then click on Bukkit instead of Craft Bukkit. You should then go to beta build, download that. Right, and once it's finished downloading, okay, once that's finished downloading, you can drag it into the lib folder. Okay, and right click on it and choose add as library. Add it as a project library. So cool. So then what you want to do is you want to create another directory and call it resources. Here we're going to put some things that I'm going to talk about later. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a package. In Java, a package is a kind of folder that you use to help organize your code. So usually it's some sort of website. So for me it's org.nunnerycode, because that's my website, nunnerycode.org. And for a lot of other people it's me. Whatever your username is. So for this example I'm going to create a package, and it's going to be me.topple the nun. So once you've done that, you want to create a new Java class, and you want to name it something like, for this one I'm going to call it tutorial plugin. and the kind is class. There are other kinds of things that you can make it, but class is what we're going to start with, and that's all we're going to deal with for these tutorials. So you've got this cool Bukkit tutorial plugin.java file open on your work table. Cool. So what you want to do now is you want to say public class Bukkit tutorial plugin extends Java plugin. So once you've got your extends Java plugin, I can explain to you what this does. What this does is there's a mechanic in Java called subclassing, or there's multiple different names for it, but for simplicity's sake, I'm going to call it extension. If class B extends class A, then class B is class A. For example, all kittens are cats, but not all cats are kittens. In this case, cats are class A and kittens are class B. If B extends A, then B is a kind of class A, but A does not necessarily have to be a kind of class B. So what this allows you to do is your class B has access to all of the different methods in class A, but class A doesn't have access to all of the methods in class B. And this is really important to know because it allows you to do lots of funky things with different methods, which I'll cover in a minute. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to write our first method. Because we're extending Java plugin, we're going to create what's called an annotation. Annotations start with the @ symbol, and you should do @override, which is automatically suggested for you by IntelliJ. You want to the method we're going to do is public void on enable. So it should look like this, and you'll see this nice little symbol here that looks like an O in a blue circle with an arrow pointing up. That means that we're overriding a method from the Java plugin class, which we already saw. So this right here is our first method, and the Java plugin class already logs when it's enabled natively. So, but just for simplicity's sake and for explaining how to do things, just going to go ahead and tell you to log when the plugin starts. So the way you do that is you go and you write git logger dot info and say enabled period. Cool. So now we have our first method completely done. All this plugin would do so far is when you put it on the server and run it, it'll print out to the console that the plugin was enabled. It's really useful, right? Well, you can do the same thing for when the plugin gets disabled by doing an @overrided public void on disable and saying getlogger.info disabled. So that's a really simple way of doing the on disable part. If you go into the resources folder now and create a new file, call it plugin.yml. Plugin.yml is what enables Bukkit to basically get all the information it needs about your plugin in order to make it run. So if you choose you need to have a name, so in this case it's going to be Bukkit plugin. You need to have a version, so in this case it's going to be 1.0.0. You need to have a main class, so in this case it's going to be me.topple the none.bukkit tutorial plugin. Basically your main class is always going to be whichever class is extending Java plugin. You should only ever have one class that extends Java plugin per project, just because you only really need to be messing with one of those at a time. And then for fun, you can put author. In this case, it's topple to none. So it's really simple and a really easy way of explaining what this does. So if we were to turn this into a jar and then put it on a server, all it would do on startup and on startup and disable, it would just print out these messages to the console. So in my next video that I'm going to make for for plugin tutorials, I'm going to go over how to set up a test server, and then in the next video that I'm going to make, I'm going to go over how to turn this stuff we've made right here into a jar that you can run on your server. So I will see you guys in a little bit,